Hi everyone, welcome once again to TDL Profiles. Today I'll be talking to Ricky Brigante. Ricky is the host of Inside the Magic, one of the most popular podcasts regarding Disney news and information. Of course, podcasting has changed the way that people can express their opinions and passions with other people around the world. And beyond being a podcaster, Ricky also produces Orlando Attractions magazine, and he does it all right from his Mac.
I started Inside the Magic basically when I first heard of podcasts in general. I thought, well, you know, this sounds like something that could be fun, something I really wanted to do, and I tried to think of a topic, and first thing that came to mind was Disney, because, you know, I live here in Orlando, and I'm a huge Disney fan, obviously, and, you know, I searched, and there was only one other Disney podcast out there, so that's just what I went with. I was hoping if I could get a few listeners listening every week, that would be great, and I could just kind of talk about what's going on at Walt Disney World and any of the other Disney interests that I have, and it's kind of just taken off from there.
While you may think you're the only one who feels passionately about a topic, podcast audiences prove you're not alone.
The reaction to Inside the Magic has been incredible. It's way beyond what I ever expected. You know, I was expecting at the most a couple hundred people to be listening, and now we're bordering on 10,000 weekly listeners, which is just absolutely amazing. I definitely didn't expect to be doing it 3+ years later. It's incredible that it's still going, but I'm very happy to do it. I'm enjoying doing it every week, and I'm really excited that all the listeners out there just love it and listen to it every week, and, you know, that's the reason I do it. If it wasn't for the listeners, there'd be no point in doing it, and so I try to, you know, offer what listeners want to hear every week, and like I said, as long as they're still listening, I'll keep doing it.
Ricky says listener interaction is key to growing and maintaining your audience.
Over the years, I've found a whole lot of different ways for listeners to participate. When I first started out, it was just me talking to a microphone, my old microphone that I happen to have lying around, and since then I've upgraded the equipment and figured, you know, in upgrading my equipment and getting my voice out there more clearly, I should also bring in the voice of listeners. So over the years, we've added a listener feedback section to the end of every show where I read emails or play voicemails, which I added a couple of years ago, almost like a call-in on a regular radio show, except it's not live. It's, you know, I'll just respond to their voicemails, and listeners can send in videos and photos, and, you know, it's a great community that we're able to share. We have the message board online, the Inside the Magic forums, and, you know, that's the best part, is just being able to talk back and forth with the listeners. I get hundreds of emails every week, and I try to answer every single one, or at least as many as I possibly can. And interacting is just really the most important thing about podcasting. When you watch television, or even to some extent regular radio, it's almost a one-way conversation. You know, you just sit there and you enjoy what you're hearing or what you're viewing, but with podcasts, it's a lot more interactive. That's really, I think, the way of the future and what the internet really is all about. Podcasting offers a really unique way to interact with other Disney fans. Message boards have been around for a long time, as have web pages, and even before that there were conventions where you could meet in person, and all of that still goes on, but I think with a podcast it's really kind of an intimate setting. You know, anybody can listen basically to my voice, and, you know, and Skipper Ben and Mark and Jay and anyone else who joins me on the show with, you know, earbuds in their ears, and it's almost like I'm talking directly to them, and it's kind of a different sort of one-on-one experience, very different than previous interaction. And, you know, when I go to the parks and I get recognized, somebody will say, hey, you know, are you Ricky, and kind of strike up a conversation that way. I think that kind of thing probably didn't happen so much in the past on a message board. You know, maybe if people became friends it would, but it's a whole new type of interaction. I think it's a lot of fun.
Inside the Magic combines Ricky's news segments along with segments from other show contributors, and is combined with a Disney-themed soundtrack. While podcasting is relatively easy to do, Ricky's high production value show takes a substantial amount of time.
I really start planning each week's show just kind of right after I finish the previous week. I'll, you know, maybe take a day or two without thinking about it at all, but after that I'll start to gather news, you know, surf a lot of other websites, news websites, other fan sites, and just start pulling in all the information that I think would fit into that, you know, 10 to 20 minute news segment at the top of the show. After that, it's really fair game for anything. I'll sift through emails from listeners to get ideas for segments. A lot of times listeners will send in complete write-ups and reviews, or they'll call in, or they'll send an audio file of them reviewing something or talking about something, and I'll include those as segments. beyond that, I'll, just kind of sift around for ideas if something is going on in the parks. Of course, I'll run to the parks, bring the microphones with me and the video camera, and I'll record anything that is going on in the parks, and that's always a great way to add content to the show. And of course we have Skipper Ben on every week, and he lives in Texas, and I rarely see him. Actually, for the first well over a year of him being on the show, we had never even met or even talked on the phone or anything. We just talked via email, and he basically just does his segment completely on his own and uploads it for me, and I download it and put it in the show every week. There's really very limited interaction between myself and Ben in order to plan his segment. Every once in a while we'll get together and plan something specific, or if I'm having a real themed show, he'll try to work on his segment in line with that theme. But other than that, it's pretty free-form. He can just do whatever he wants, and I'm always very excited to hear it every week. He always does a great job. Most of it happens on Sunday, the day it gets released. I'll sit down first thing in the morning, maybe around 10 or 11 in the morning, work on it for a while, take a break, go back, work on it for a while, and probably spend about 5 to 8 hours every Sunday working on the show to get it done. So it's, a little mini job every week, but I enjoy doing it.
Inside the Magic, with its feedback from Disney employees and use of Disney music, could be shut down or at least made more difficult to produce by Disney, but the company seems to see the value in the show.
The reaction from Disney about my podcast in particular has been really great. I have a lot of fans out there who do work for Disney, and I get emails from them here and there in various levels of the company, from just your average cast member that works in the parks every day, maybe on seasonal, maybe he's there full time, maybe their college program or international program. I get a lot of emails there. I've had emails from Imagineers that listen to the show, and it's great that Disney hasn't, obviously they haven't shut us down, which is spectacular because we're not an official podcast. We do use a lot of their content, their music, and all of that, and they haven't said, no, don't do that. I've even gotten an email from somebody over at Walt Disney Records who was happy for me to be able to be promoting their new releases, their new CDs and all of that. So it's been a really tremendous response. They, of course, won't officially endorse any podcast. They are all unofficial, but the unofficial response that I've received just from fans out there that do work at Disney is that they really enjoy the show. If Disney approached me and said that they wanted Inside the Magic to become the official podcast for Disney, or if they wanted me to work for them, how could I say no to something like that? I mean, for me to take so many hours out of my week every week to, basically say how much I love Disney, and to turn them down would be absolutely silly. Of course, I would definitely jump on any opportunity given to me.
Even with the show's following, Ricky says you shouldn't plan on quitting your day job to podcast.
Making a living on a podcast or a blog is very, very difficult. I'm not even anywhere close to that. I'm not even trying to do that with Inside the Magic. It's something that's, you have to have a huge audience and a lot of advertising, I think, is really the current business model, and there's probably only a select few podcasters out there that are able to actually make a sincere living off of doing a podcast, or a blog for that matter. Same thing goes for a blog. You really need a large reader base and a lot of advertising, and you have to work to get those advertisers. And so for me, Inside the Magic is more of a hobby. I'm not really looking to make a living off of it, which is why I've started Orlando Attractions magazine. So for anyone who's interested in leaving their day job to just start a podcast and hope that the money's going to come rolling in, unfortunately that's probably not going to happen. You got to your topic's got to be broad enough and maybe not so niche as Disney in order to be widely listened to, and you've really got to have some kind of a team to bring in the ad dollars in order to really make a living off of something like that.
He turned his interest in the Orlando area into a new venture, Orlando Attractions magazine.
Inside the Magic was and is a weekly hobby, but I really wanted to take that to the next level and make a job out of my love for not only Disney theme parks, but really everything in Orlando. I mean, I moved here for a reason. It's a great city, and there's so much to do here, and I really wanted to make that clear. And if there's one thing that any Disney fan misses, it's the old Disney magazine. And so myself and Matt Roseboom, who's my partner, started Orlando Attractions magazine, which is really a magazine in the vein of the old Disney magazine, but we're covering all Orlando theme parks and, you know, mini golf and all the attractions that are great about Orlando, restaurants and hotels and everything that we love about the city. And it's a great way to not only try to make a living, but also, you know, bring back something that fans used to enjoy getting delivered to their door. The internet's great for reading news and photos and getting podcasts and all of that, but there's something to be said about actually getting a magazine in your hands, having it arrive in the mailbox, and just flipping through it at your own pace. It's kind of a collectible. You can, you know, flip through it later on if you want. Chances are you're not going to go back and listen to an old podcast from years ago. I know some people do, but for the most part, you know, you're more likely to go back to an old magazine and say, wow, you know, look at this from years ago. So we're hoping to really kind of establish a moment in time in Orlando and say not only about what everything's going on, you know, that's going on now, but in the future you can look back and say, oh wow, this was, you know, a great year for Orlando theme parks. This and this and this happened. So it's been a lot of fun working on the magazine. You know, the notion of starting a print magazine was definitely one that I was a little leery about, because the world of print is kind of in a state of flux right now, but I think, like I said, just having something in your hand, something tangible to look at, as opposed to just looking on a computer monitor all day, to be able to take the magazine with you if you're in the car, or if you're just on a couch lounging, or you can go outside, or you can go wherever you want and just enjoy it. And we're not all about, you know, late breaking news, and, you know, obviously we can't be up to the minute when we only come out every other month, but we're just looking to be more in-depth with a lot of great glossy photos. And it's one thing to look at a photo on a computer screen, but it's really another thing to see it blown up onto a full page and just sit there and enjoy it. It really brings a different experience to enjoying that, you know, that type of media.
Obviously, we talk a lot about the digital lifestyle, but what does that phrase mean to a highly successful podcaster?
The digital lifestyle, to me, means you would, you know, just kind of incorporate digital technology into your life. Not so much that you're, you know, sitting on a calculator watch all day, but it's more a part of making your life better via digital products, you know, be it an iPhone, which I don't even have, but, you know, for some people an iPhone really helps them in life, or you know, something as simple as, you know, the right computer, something that just kind of fits right into the way you work and just kind of makes you work more efficiently and work a little bit better. I think that's what the digital lifestyle would be all about.
For thedigital lifestyle.tv, I'm Ryan Ritchie.